Hello and welcome back to the 14th lesson of the Year 2 Theory and Methods section of this online series. In terms of the title of this section, we're continuing with our action theories, so we're still looking at theory and methods for paper 1 and paper 3, but this time we're looking at the contribution of action theories to our understanding of society today, and this incorporates part 2 of the action theory. So to recap, you need to be able to explain how each of these sociological theories explains society. Remember, action theories offer an alternative to structural theories, but are still sociological in their attempt to explain society. They just use different concepts, studies and applications. Last time we looked at labelling, the self-fulfilling prophecy, the looking-glass self associated with Cooley, the deviant career and the master status associated with Becker. The broad term action theories focuses on the meanings that people use to interpret, define and make sense of the social world. As noted here, there is much more emphasis on the individual than the wider social structures. These are the sorts of questions that an action theorist might ask. As far as an A-level sociology exam is concerned, all of these words mean the same thing, or a very similar idea. You need to be able to use them to criticise the structural theory and vice versa. The key statement here is that the emphasis from an action perspective is very much on the individual. The work of this man, Erving Goffman, was vital in developing this type of theory, and his ideas are really interesting and useful. As we've seen with other theories, in order to explain society, the use of concepts and analogies have been really helpful. Goffman was interested in how we, as individuals, construct our self by manipulating other people's impressions of us. Think about how individuals do this and how we can use this concept to criticise the structural theories that we've previously looked at. Goffman uses a dramaturgical analogy as a correspondence to and comparison with a theatrical performance applied to everyday life. For Goffman, the front stage is what we want the audience to see and the backstage is hidden from view. In order to manage our performance, for Goffman, we as individuals aim to present a particular version of ourself. One of Goffman's seminal works is indeed called The Presentation of the Self in Everyday Life, and he uses this concept of impression management to explain how we do this. Just imagine you've completed a winning application form and landed a job interview for your dream role. How are you going to manage your impression in this situation? This, for Goffman, is how society is constructed, via the individual and how they choose to behave. Erving Goffman is dead, but if he was alive, what do you think he'd say about things like social media, Facebook, or your Instagram profile, for example? This, for many people, is their front stage. This is what the audience sees, and indeed what they want them to see. But people don't really know what's going on behind the scenes, if you like. This might be how Goffman interprets the situation of today. Of course, if he were alive. Think about how you might seek to manage your impression to each of these different audiences. You might be familiar with school friends, people at work, your leisure or hobbies, or your family. Do you present a different version of yourself to each of these different groups of people, slightly altering the impression that you give to them with the use of props, language, and other sorts of things? When Goffman discusses roles, note how this is different to the functionalist view. Think back to the expressive instrumental roles that Parsons discussed when we looked at families and households, and how this take from Goffman is so different. Think about the audience for this bouncer. What impression is he likely to want or need to give? What props is he using to manage this impression more effectively? Do you think he does a good job in terms of his impression management? Based on what we've done on action theory, can you think which concepts these pictures might be trying to represent? To create a summary of action theories, try to use as many of these concepts as you can to explain this theory. They're going to help you to write longer and better essays or short answer exam questions as well.